Dear Americans, imagine waking up every day knowing your home, your livelihood, your family could be torn apart by violence. On farms across South Africa, this isn't just a fear, it's a reality. Mothers, fathers, children brutally attacked, tortured, and murdered in their own homes. And the world? It barely blinks. You pride yourselves on justice, on standing up for what's right. But how many deaths will it take for you to understand? Hundreds? Thousands? The numbers are staggering, and the stories behind them are heartbreaking. These aren't just statistics, they're real people, real lives, begging for someone to notice. Today, I'm asking you to listen, to see the truth through the eyes of those who've suffered. To ask yourself, when does silence become complicity? Let me show you the faces, the names, and the cost of ignoring this crisis. Because if not now, then when?
Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
Afrikaners who left for the United States are not facing persecution in South Africa. Trump's administration is offering refugee programs to some white South Africans that it claims face discrimination.
We've raised our own concern because those people who are being enticed to go to the United States do not fit the definition of a refugee. A refugee is someone who has to leave their country out of fear of political persecution, religious persecution. They don't fit that bill. They don't fit that description. And I had a conversation with President Trump on the phone, and he said, what's happening down there? And I said, President, what you've been told by those people who are opposed to transformation back home in South Africa is not true. And I added to him, I said, we were well taught by Nelson Mandela and other iconic leaders like Oliver Tambo on how to continue to build a united nation out of the diverse groupings that we have in South Africa. We're the only country on the continent where the colonizers came to stay, and we have never driven them out of our country. So they are staying, and they're making great progress. It's a fringe grouping that does not have a lot of support, that is anti-transformation and anti-change, that would actually prefer to see South Africa going back to apartheid type of policies.
Hulle het een skoot afgeskiet wat almal gemis het en in die garage vasgeskiet het. Attie is herhaaldelik geslaat met die panga en met 'n mes. So het Attie naderhand geen senuwees meer oorgehad nie. Soos wat hy beklei.
Toe sê ek, what are you doing here? It's Christmas, go home. Toe kyk hy my net met sulke oë aan, maar ek het die hele tyd met my hande in die lug gestaan. Toe sê ek, for my children are coming. My babies will be here now. What do you want? En hy het my net gekyk en toe kap hy my met hy panga. En hy het net aangehou en aangehou.
As soon as possible because I won't make it. And he was still firing all over. And I just pulled away, and luckily nothing else hit me because I was just waiting for that headshot or something and then everything will be over. So I just pull out there and just hope for the best.
Ja, sorry, nou raaitjie, is net bloed. Nou hulle moes my dopgehou het toe Ammie gery het en ek gery het, toe dink hulle is nou 'n kans. En soos ek die ding opsom is, hulle het Roan kan nie praat soos ek en jy nie. Dit het natuurlik nou kluis sleutels en goeders gesoek, hulle kon dit nie kry nie, hulle begin hom nou slaan. En toe kom Ammie nou terug. En toe kom sy nou op die gemors af waar Roan mee besig was en sy natuurlik, sy het beklei om hom te help en hy het weer beklei om haar te help, iets van die geaardheid.
8 Junie 2024. Ons het 'n heerlike gewone Saterdag gehad. Ek het besluit vir die eerste keer in jare gaan ek vir my en my man oom David gaan ek vir ons kajings maak. En ek het dit die oggend gekoop en ek het baie gekoop die dag, baie lekker inkopies gaan doen met die oog op die Vadersdag naweek wat voor lê. En die volgende oomblik toe staan hierdie 2 mans in daai opening en hulle skree net vir ons down. Die enigste woord wat hulle aanvanklik gesê het was go down, go down. En ek het nog vir hulle gesê, but what are you doing? What are you doing? Dit is so 'n onverwagse ding. Dit is so 'n onmoontlike iets wat met jou gebeur dat dit nie eintlik by jou registreer nie. En toe het hulle ons al 2 net op die grond daar neergegooi. Oom David se voete vasgemaak, my hande agter die rug vasgemaak met skoenveters. En die oomblik as jy probeer opstaan, wat maar moeilik is, oom David is 85 en ek is 78, dan gee hulle jou net 'n verskriklike skop en met 'n ysterstaaf, 'n crowbar, gee hulle jou maar net te hou. Ek het die hele tyd meer op my regterkant gelê, want ek het oom David gelê en kyk die hele tyd. Hy was meer voor die televisie, meer aan daai kant, ek aan hierdie kant. En so hierdie kant is niks seer nie, alles net aan die een kant. Terwyl voor ons nog gelê het hulle dadelik gevra vir geld, money. En ek het my die R200 uitgehaal en 3, 4, 20 rande. So dit was net R280, dis letterlik al wat ons in kontant gehad het. En hy het aanhou vra vir nog money. Now I don't have more money. En toe het hulle ons eers op die grond neergegooi. Ek het nog so half op die punt van die stoel dink ek gesit, ek kan nie.
I was at the campus and I got a phone call saying my aunt is coming to pick me up. And I said, okay, it's fine, you can come and pick me up, I'm waiting, and they just want to take me somewhere and everything. And then I started getting Facebook messages and WhatsApp messages telling me that from different people that how sorry they are to hear about everything that happened. And so I started to panic and I called my aunt back and she told me just my 2 grandparents are murdered. And so I came here, and when I got here they told me my parents as well. So that's how I found out about what happened.
Becker en sy vrou Madlinda is gister op hul plaas aangeval. Volgens die polisie is Becker met 'n onbekende voorwerp in die gesig geslaan en het hy op die toneel aan sy wonde beswyk. Madlinda, 'n geliefde oud wiskundeonderwyser, is ernstig aangerand. Die verdagtes is almal tussen 16 en 19 jaar oud.
Die gemeenskap van Grootvlei is geruk nadat 'n jarelange inwoner gister hier vermoor is. Die vermoede is dat Theo Becker en sy vrou Marlinda gisteroggend tussen 7:00 en 9:00 oorval is. Diegene wat eerste onraad vermoed het en hulle na die plaas gehaas het op 'n gruisame toneel afgekom. Die verdagtes het met die egpaar se Kia, kontant en verskeie vuurwapens gevlug. Sowat 25 km van die moordtoneel het hulle die gesteelde motor laat omslaan, waarna hulle in hegtenis geneem is. Vandag het Bekker se geliefdes en die gemeenskap nog tot verhaal probeer kom. Hulle sê hy was baie paraat.
I feel scared in the daylight. It doesn't even need to be night, to be quite honest. I was laying on this bed here, asleep. My daughters were in the bedroom. They broke the door, and walked past me, right past me, 5 of them, armed men, up the stairs to my daughter's bedroom. I did not hear them walk past me. So when they opened my daughter's bedroom, she thought it was me that walked in. And then there were these 5 guys in there. When Danny saw them, they went like, whoa, 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 like this in her face. So Shakita got afraid and she screamed, Mommy, she screamed. So I woke up from here, but like when you democard, like bewildered, that's how it was. So I woke up, I ran up the stairs. As I'm running up the stairs, I see these guys standing there. But now I know my daughter's on the other side of the freaking room. So I had to literally run through them. As I got into the room, the one guy hit me with an axe over my head. So I fell. When I fell, he kicked me to the other side of the room, basically. My oldest daughter, Shakita, she said I'm attacked, Dan. No? Yeah, because I can't say blacked out, but I was like half democard, not realizing what the hell's actually going on here. He took a scarf from my daughter's cupboard and he tied me behind my back. At that point I realized, okay, this is what the hell's going on here now. We've been robbed and these guys are in our house and it's just me and my daughter, so, what do you do? So, toe werk ek saam. So I started working with what was going on. So they asked, where's the safe, where's the cash, where's all these things? So we go, there is no safe, we don't have cash, so we said there's the jewelry. So then I started working with them so they can just not harm us, They took all my daughter's electronic equipment, their laptops, their cell phones, their tablets, they took the smart TV, they took...
Oop te breek. En Rob het in die gang ingegaan, teruggekom met 'n paintball-gun. Sorry. Met toe hy uitkom met hy skoot gevier. En dit is toe hulle net begin skiet het. Hulle het net geskiet. Rob het ons die deur oopgesluit op Rob het. Hy het gedink hulle het weggehardloop om die hoek of dit hulle die deur vasgekruip het ingekom. En ek het gestaan skuins agterop met Zumi wat my pitbull is, was teen hulle en ek het die hele tyd vir Zumi geskree, kom mama toe. Terwyl hulle skiet. En Rob het vir my en die hond net gegryp en ons in die badkamer gegooi. En hy het gesê, vat my hond, ek gaan nie in. En toe die deur toe is, en soos een skoot klap, dan hoor jy, Eina! En nog een skoot het geklap en ek het weer gehoor, Eina! Ja, ek het uitgegaan. Maar Rob geleed in die sitkamer. En dit is toe hulle my slaan met 'n geweer. En een skree vir my, shut up. En die ander een skree net, put the lights on. En die ander een sê net vir my, sit down. Ek het die ligte aangesit, eventually. En ek het begin om die TV uit te plak en ek het die PlayStation uitgeplak. Toe die ander een my net weer oor die kop geslaan. Ek sê my, what the F are you doing? En so ek vir hom, just take it and go, so I can help my husband. Toe sê hulle vir my, we don't want it, it's not what we came to do, we've done what we wanted to do.
De Bos is die ou wat in beheer was. En dan praat hy met my en dan sê ek vir hom, skus, ek kan jou nie hoor nie. En dan trek hy sy masker af en praat met my en sit die masker terug. So na die tyd het ek besef, hulle was glad nie bang om hulle gesigte vir my te wys nie. Of om so met jou te praat nie. Maar in 'n geval, my voete daar uitgekry. En nou staan jy maar om die hoek en kyk op en af in die gang, want jy wag nou. En toe het ek net besluit, okay, nou gaan ek uit. Toe is ek by hulle in die kamer in en gelukkig is al drie toe nou okay. Soos wat jy kan wees. Argu, my oudste, ons het so die gang met die trappies op. So toe ek die deur oopmaak, toe begin hy nou op sy hurke skiet tot by die trappies. Toe sê ek vir hom, okay, ek gaan nou afstap tot voor, want nou moet ons 'n skêr of 'n mes of 'n ding kry sodat ons onsself kan loskry. En ek dink dit was vir my die ergste van alles, toe ek hier afkom onder toe is my hande dood. My hande was letterlik, daar was geen bloed in my hande nie, niks nie. Nou kry ek nie 'n mes gevat met die hande nie. Want daar's niks nie, dis dood, daar's nie gevoel nie.
Dit was in die winter gewees en ek en my man was siek met COVID gewees, baie ernstig siek. My man is seker so 'n week voor die plaasaanval is hy gehospitaliseer, hy was in 'n koma gewees met COVID. Hy het ook longontsteking gehad, net soos ek, en ek het op die plaas agtergebly. En die Vrydag aand, so 10 voor 2 die oggend, Vrydag aand, Saterdagoggend, toe het ek geslaap in my kamer. Ons is redelik goed beveilig gewees, maar ek was alleen op die plaas as gevolg van die COVID. En ja, die volgende oomblik het my hondjie, my klein Jack Russell wat by my in die kamer was, het sy ongelooflik ja, jy kon hoor, sy hoor iets in die huis, maar ek het maar gedink, sy is rusteloos as gevolg van die feit dat my man nie by die huis was nie. Hondjie was baie geheg aan hom gewees, en ek het gospelmusiek op my foon aangesit langs my bed, om haar te probeer rustig hou, en ja, so 10 voor 2 toe hoor ek die sekuriteitsdeur wat ons in die gang het hulle begin afbreek. En ek het dadelik die bure gebel. Ek het hulle gesê hulle moet kom, hier is moeilikheid in die huis. En die ouetjie die telefoon neergegooi en ek besef hy moet dadelik kom, en ek het toe my ma gebel dat sy my kind in die hande probeer kry, dat hy kom, want ek het geweet die moeilikheid. En toe het ek die hoof van plaasveiligheid gebel, Johan, en hy dadelik geantwoord, hom gesê, Johan, jy moet die plaasveiligheid mense mobiliseer, plaasaanval, en hom gevra, bly met my op die lyn asseblief, want whatever nou volgende gaan gebeur, waar ek gehad het, moet op rekord wees, want dit word op band opgeneem, wat gebeur. En ja, hulle is soos 'n warm mes deur botter, is hulle deur die sekuriteitsdeur, daar voor my kamerdeur was daar ook 'n sekuriteitsdeur. Hulle het aan die deur begin ruk en pluk en afbreek. En ek het vir hulle geskree en vir hulle te sê, asseblief, ek is, wie ever daar is, ek is swaar gewapen. Ek wil hulle net waarsku, en hulle het aanhou kom, en ek het my pistool gevat, en ek het begin skiet, en hulle het bly kom. Hulle het bly om die deur af te breek. En toe besluit ek, ja, my beklere gesteel, sy skoene, die TV's, die hi-fi, die baie van die borde, messe en virke, eetgerei, Tupperware, lakens, van die duvet-stelle, kussings. Snaaks genoeg het hulle my laptop gelos. Het my laptop gevat nie. Ja. In my kamer al wat oor was nog 'n TV.
Well, I opened the door to let the dogs out, the kitchen door, and I thought, here's trouble. And the guy immediately had a gun to my head, and he pushed me backwards to the counter in the middle of the kitchen there. And then he saw Ronnie sitting here in the lounge, so he left me and he ran this way, and the next thing I heard, he shot Ronnie. Ronnie was just picking up his gun, because he always has his gun with him. And but he didn't get the safety off, thank goodness, because otherwise it would have maybe turned out worse. But anyway, so he left me standing there, and then he shot Ronnie, and I came here. And then he was standing on Ronnie's arm was lying like this, and he was standing on his hand and his arm and really hurting him. And so I went and pushed I said, get off. And, but Ronnie had been shot. The bullet went into his arm, and it's still lodged in the back of his shoulder. and it went through the nerve center here, so he can't use his left hand at all now. And then they tied my knees together, but they wanted me still to be able to walk, to go and show them where I had money, because they wanted money and jewelry, they said. So that's why they didn't shoot me, because they wanted me to show them quickly where this was. Oh, and when I was standing in the kitchen after they came in and he ran to Ronnie in the lounge, I screamed. I screamed so loudly so that the people living there would hear me and maybe bring the police or come and see what was going on. And so they did come. They did come. And the Frenchman who has lived here since 1971, 72, he's been living here forever, a man alone, a Frenchman. And he heard me scream, and he came in, and they shot him. He shot one of them as well, but he was shot dead in my kitchen. And then after that, they wanted me to show them where I got money, and I had to take them to the study. And I gave them the little bit of cash I had. And then I took him to the bedroom because he wanted the jewelry. He wanted all my jewelry. And he took the whole lot and put it in a bag. And then they left through the bedroom window. He said, open the windows. And I had to open the bedroom windows, and they left. But I think because I screamed, they were now scared the police may be coming and other people may be coming. Because I really screamed very loudly, they all heard me.
Johnny en Deline Miller is op 24 September op hulle plaas naby Frankfurt aangeval. En tydens die aanval is Johnny in die kop geskiet. Die koel het deur sy kop gegaan en hy het eintlik in 'n wonderwerk hierdie aanval oorleef. Johnny is terug uit die hospitaal uit en ons sit nou hier in Frankfurt en ons gesels met Johnny en Deline oor wat daardie aand met hulle gebeur het.
Ek het wakker geword deur 'n hou op die kop. En daar was onmiddellik bloed oral. Dit het dadelik begin bloei. Ek het op my rug geloop baie stadium met my oë oopgemaak. Toe staan daar een man wydsbeen oor my met 'n Bobby Jan spanner in sy hand. Hy het die initial shot gegee. Een was dadelik besig om my broek los te maak en af te trek. En die derde was besig met 'n nylon tou om my bene vas te maak. Ek is obviously bietjie groter as normaal en ek gedink ek kan myself verdedig, maar die man naaste my, die grootste, het net aanhou slaan en slaan. Ek het gekeer en ja, die broek kon nie heeltemal af nie. Die tou was in die pad. Maar toe los hulle die tou, toe ruk hulle die broek af. En die hou het dit aangehou kom. Ek het probeer opstaan, ek het half opgekom, slaan hulle my agter die kop, het geval, die vat twee van hulle en hulle gooi my in die muur in. Daar's ook 'n stuk weer in die grond vasgedruk. Toe kom daar weer 'n paar houe. Toe word ek het 'n baie sturdy klein koffietafel. Die is toe hier oor my skouer gebreek en die pote daarvan is deur die ander twee opgetel en toe begin hulle slaan. En hoe meer ek geskree het, hoe harder het die houe gekom. Toe sê hulle vir my, shut up, you're making a noise. Toe ek nie ophou nie, toe ruk hulle nog 'n tou uit en hulle trek dit om my nek. Dit was die grootste skrik, want oombliklik kon ek nie asem kry nie. Ek het dit my tong voel uithang by my mond. En op daai stadium toe ek vol bloed, kon skaars deur my oë sien, alles was bebloed. En ek het net gedink ek moet die ding van my nek afkry, dit sal my dood wees as ek dit nie doen nie. Ek het die laaste, ek weet nie presies hoeveel minute het ons gestoei of beklei nie, maar ek weet pertinent die laaste greintjie energie wat ek gehad het, het ek altyd my hande inforceer en die tou afgeruk en toe ek hier onder kom het ek net gaan platval en sê tie me up or kill me. Ek kan nie verder nie. Hulle het my hande toe so vasgebind en baie styf getrek en hulle het die ander tou hier om hierdie bene net bo my knie vasgemaak. Toe ek was hier so vas en ek word in die grond vasgedruk op my gesig en toe vra hulle vir my, where's your gun? Where's your safe? Where's your money? Where's your worker? Wat deur my kop gegaan het, is my laaste gesprek met my kinders. Ek het hulle gebel die volgende dag en mooi met hulle gepraat, almal saam op speaker en vir hulle gesê dat daar skelms in pappa se huis was en pappa het bietjie seer gekry. Maar ek moes vir hulle sê, ek kon nie vir hulle met die wete los dat die skelms is nog daar buite nie. Ek moes vir hulle jok en sê hulle is gevang, hulle is toegesluit en hulle gaan nooit weer terugkom nie. Net om hulle gerus te gee. Gerusheid te gee.
Nikki, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my father were all farmers in South Africa. I married a farmer whose family have farmed their land for 3 generations. It is with deep sadness that I stand before you today and say that neither of my 2 sons would ever want to farm in South Africa. For 17 years, I had the privilege of raising my 3 children on a beautiful citrus farm. They swam in the rivers and played in the orchards. They grew up free and fearless, as all children should. Little did we know that our every move was being watched. An attack was being meticulously planned on our family. Our lives changed in an instant at 8 p.m. on the 23rd of March 2018, when shots were fired directly at my eldest son's head while he sat in front of his television and played on his TV. These shots missed his head by centimeters. What followed was 4 hours of pure hell. I was shot as our attacker fired repeatedly through the doors of our home. I can only describe this feeling as being hunted like wild animals. Our attacker shot through the sliding door of our bedroom and gained entry to our home. He held the gun to my 9-year-old son's head and threatened to shoot him. I told my little one to be quiet, as this man would kill us. All I saw was silent tears rolling down his little cheeks for the next 4 hours. He tied us all up with fencing wire, so tight that our hands lost all their circulation. He shouted at my children that he was there to kill their father and that he would chop them up, that he would chop him up in front of them. An emotional torture and the level of anger that my children endured was persistent and undescribable that night.
Jan Tamboer says he has vivid memories of the day when 4 thugs stormed the farm near Jeffreys Bay last year. They ransacked his house, stole money and food, and brutally assaulted his wife. Tamboer, who was also shot in the head, says he now has to look after his wife, whose leg had to be amputated after the attack.
Hulle het ingeval in die huis en ek het gehoor hoe hy met hulle praat en vra vir hulle, wat maak julle dan? Hoe kom julle dan in die deur? Julle klop nie, julle kom so onverskillig in. Hulle het gesê, dit maak nie saak nie, ons kom in. En hulle het ingekom, en toe hulle in die huis inkom, het hulle in die kamer ingegaan, toe sien ek nie, dit is hierdie mense, is nie mense wat vir mense vir ons wil kom keier, dit is iemand anders.
2 of the culprits were arrested, and on Friday they were handed sentences of up to 30 years in.
I'm Mariandra Yennis. On the 1st of October in 2016, our house was broken into by 2 attackers while we were asleep. My husband and I fell asleep on the couch upstairs in the living room. And our oldest daughter, who was then 6 years old, fell asleep on a little mattress with us. We have had 2 other girls, and they were asleep in their rooms downstairs. So I was awoken by the dogs barking, firstly, and I got up and I tried to wake Johan up, looked out all the windows, walked downstairs, checked that everything's locked, everything seemed fine. And I just assumed it's a rabbit or a cat or something in the veld. And then I heard a strange sound upstairs. I was 8 months pregnant at the time. And I thought it was our middle daughter coming up to join us in the living room. And I still remember looking over the couch and I didn't see anything there. And it was the weirdest feeling to hear something, but there's nothing there. I lay back down, and the next moment I heard what the police explained to me afterwards was the cocking of the gun. And as I sat up straight, the 2 attackers were standing at my feet with a gun pointed at me, and they started screaming. They demanded money, and of course I started screaming, and my husband woke up. And we calmly explained to them that we don't have money in the house, but they can take anything they want. We don't have cash, but they can take the TV, they can take the computers, they can take the car. He even explained to them where to find the valuables. And the one guy said, "This man is a killer, and he's here to kill you." And the shots rang out. My daughter woke up in this chaos, and she was running between her daddy and the mattress hysterically. They fired a shot at her. They missed, thankfully. They shot Johan 5 times right next to me. He rolled off the couch onto the floor, and they then came to me and they grabbed me up from the couch and demanded that I go downstairs with them. I refused because I didn't want them to go near my other 2 children, and also you know, you hear about these farm attacks and you never think it'll happen to you until it does. And I didn't want to go down.
Start that sentence again, please. She coughed back there. You hear about the farm attacks?
You hear about the farm attacks and how gruesome it is and what happens. And you know it's a reality, but you never think it will happen to you until it's in your house. So when they demanded to take me downstairs, we had a little struggle. I refused, because I know if they take you aside, they normally rape you and then you get killed. So at that point, my little girl put her hand up and she said to them, "You want money? I've got money. I have a piggy bank. You can take my piggy bank. Just leave my mommy alone." And I still remember I wanted the floor to swallow her. I said to her, "No, keep quiet. Don't move." And at that point, Johan got up for the very last time. And he gave 2 steps forward and he said to them, "Please." And it sounded like he was crying when he said that. My daughter afterwards told me that he, in fact, was crying. There was blood coming out of his ears, out of his nose. And the one attacker said, "Just kill him, brother. Just kill him." He still waved his hand like this. Both me and my daughter screamed and pleaded and asked them, "Please don't." To no avail. They pointed the gun at his forehead and shot him, execution style. So he was shot 6 times right in front of us. He fell forward on his face at my feet. They then stormed me again and they put the gun to my head and they asked me where the other children are. And I said to them, "Please, just leave. You've done enough. You've done enough." And without a word, they turned around, casually walked down the stairs, unlocked the front door, and left. They only took our phones, so I couldn't phone for help. So in those next moments, I couldn't phone for help. So I considered running to the neighbors, which is too far, and it's in the middle of the night, and I was heavily pregnant with the 3 little girls. It just seemed too dangerous. So then I realized I had to make sure if Johan is dead, because I couldn't feel breathing, but I wasn't sure. And as I turned him on his back, I saw the head wound and his eyes, and that's where I had to decide to leave him alone there and get the kids to safety. So we got in the car and we sped off to the nearest fuel station, which is 10 minutes.
Well, minute, Robert. Take a minute. Come on, take a minute. It's all right, take as much.
On July 26, 2020, a phone call from a concerned family friend led to a grim discovery at the house of Elzebie, Breggie, and Danny Brand.
Ek het omgestap om die agterdeur toe en die traliehek is toe en ek stap terug en toe ek terugstap, toe sien ek bloed op die grond, plasse bloed en toe besef ek dadelik hier's iets is nie reg nie.
A community search for the family immediately began. But sadly, the search ended tragically the following day. On the evening of July 27, the mutilated body of 54-year-old Elzebie was found in a field some 25 kilometers away from their farm. The bodies of 83-year-old Danny and 73-year-old Breggie were found in shallow graves in the early hours of July 28, about a kilometer away from where Elzebie was found.
We found them in the bushveld over there. It's communal land.
Police believe the suspects broke into the Brand house around lunchtime on July 26 before overpowering the family in the kitchen. The family was then thrown into their own Mazda before being killed and left in an open field.
Diana, kom in. Alles reg by jou?
Ek het paniek afgegaan.
Nee, ons is hier buite jou woning. Ons kyk maar net, maar alles reg by jou?
Reg, dankie.
The car in question was found on one of the now common night patrols by local security. A chance late-night sighting of the vehicle fitted with a spare wheel led authorities to suspects.
Because siabonga mo TV la marare a tsomba simene ba le koloi e lo siabonga ro bone koloi e camera go antlo entse tlhatshua le ka re nna le madi a lo ngaba le mo ga gore gona le sengwe ma a re o bone laptop ka mori ya sister a ba ra sister ne o batla eng mo simene ba ha ke tlhaloganya gore na sister ka o ntagile ba gaetsho gore ha ke itse serious.
Patrick Friend's sister was one of 5 suspects arrested for the murders of the Brand family. Khomo Tsompolwana and her 4 co-accused appeared in court charged with robbery, kidnapping and murder on July 30.
Ons vra nie die vraag af elke dag wanneer is genoeg. Almal is gatvol vir dit wat gebeur. Ander woorde het ek nie, ek het meer woorde maar ons hoop nou net daar word nou iets gedoen daaraan, maar dit gebeur elke dag. Ek en my vrou het woensdag aand van Delmas af op die plaas aangekom, sekuriteitsheining oop geskuif, ingegaan, die kar parkeer en die volgende oomblik daar 3 was afgehardloop. Ons oor rompel, ons daar rond aangerand vir 'n uur lank en het selfs soek geld, anders skiet hulle ons. Dit was altyd wat hulle gesê het, hulle soek geld, anders skiet hulle ons. Teen hulle het my deur die arm geskiet. My arm is af, been is af, splate gekry het. En ons verder daar geskop en geslaan. Vrou later in die huis ingevat, haar daar gemartel. En gesê hulle soek geld, anders gaan hulle ons later tube of iets. As is nie vir hulle geld gee nie. Ek wil sê ek het nie geld by my, ek kom nou net uit Mosambik uit, ek het Medikas. En dit hulle later gaan sê, vat my bakkie, Toyota bakkie, ry met hom. Daar is die sleutels gevat, bakkie gery. Goed op die bakkie gelaai, vasgebind, daar in die huis gelos. Het is self losgemaak en selfone gesteel, laptops gesteel, bakkie gesteel. Ander goed weet ek weet nie, daarna het ons hospitaal toe gegaan. Gelukkig lewe ons vandag.